host of ESPN and Omaha Productions. This is football. Kevin Clark, listen to your pod this morning. I want to get right into it. But let's break down the MVP chances of Saquon Barkley. What do you make of what he's been able to do? Does he have a chance? Does he have a chance?
I think there were 9 instances this year where he got tackled at the 1-yard line, and then of course Jalen Hurts runs a tush push, steals his touchdowns, and it's a totally different conversation. If you don't have that, he'd be the favorite probably, and that's the most disappointing thing is just because of the play calling tendencies. I think the media should evolve beyond just saying counting stats, touchdowns, that kind of thing. Like, who has changed an offense more than Saquon Barkley has with the Eagles? I mean, the second half of last year, that was a lost franchise. I thought they should have moved on from Nick Sirianni because they had no answers. They had no second pitch when they started to fade. And now Saquon Barkley has reinvigorated everything that team does. He pairs so well. And people keep saying, well, he wouldn't have done this with the Giants. Well, that's true. But part of that is the Giants understood how violent their offensive line was and how they can get to the second level and how they can create these holes for Saquon Barkley. This is Howie Roseman understanding exactly what his team needed and knowing that in this running back market, you don't have to spend a lot of money to do it. I mean, this is a masterclass from that franchise, from a running back who knew where to go, understand how to follow his blocks, literally and figuratively. I cannot put him any higher in the MVP discussion right now.
Oh my gosh, I hope it happens. He's worked his way into the odds. He's got some great games coming up. There's a thing of beauty to watch, and it makes the Giants, as you said on your amazing pod this morning, they couldn't look worse with all of this and what's going on.
Okay, if you were locked in a room and somebody said, make the Giants season look as embarrassing as possible, you would have done a worse job than what is actually unfolded here. That is, you could not have dreamed of this. And you could not have, by the way, filmed it all and put it on HBO in the little tiles next to Polar Express when my son is watching it.
I'm like, was Jamie Horowitz back there pulling strings, writing this script, making this happen? Like, what dark artist back there created this amazing circumstance of events that makes you look so bad? It's almost, it had to be written and orchestrated. It is wild. And then you have in the same division the team that I would like to see outside of the Eagles here and the Giants. I want to see the Commanders do well, and they're now 3 straight losses. I don't love that. You seem to believe in Cliff Kingsbury's ability to adjust. There's some things that you'd like to see Jaden do. People are out on Cliff this morning.
I keep seeing the stats that I think he goes down 2 points per month as the season goes along. So yeah, it's 27 in October and then like 23. Yeah, there we go. It's a downward trend. And I think part of that is the lack of adjustments. I was in Washington or Virginia for training camp, and I talked to DeVita Pritchard, who's the quarterback's coach down there, and I knew the floor was going to be really high for Jaden Daniels because of the things he does well. He was basically a savant last year at throwing down the field, especially vertical seam routes. And at LSU, he was historic. And I think they had the most explosive plays in college football history last year, beating Joe Burrow's 2019 record. And that just kind of shows you, if you can do that in the SEC, you can do that against anybody once you get to the NFL. And so what I think they should go back to is more trusting of Jaden Daniels, more of those sort of vertical seam routes, stop throwing outside the numbers, frankly, for a couple of weeks and just see, do what he did really well at LSU, get back to basics. I think that getting back to basics is always the cure-all when you have kind of a swoon like this. And by the way, they should have won yesterday. I mean, they could have won yesterday. It was situational. I put some of that on special teams, obviously. But a team like the Commanders right now should be blowing out a Cooper Rush-led Cowboys team. And that's what concerns me. I think they'll get back on track. I really have no long-term concerns about the Commanders right now.
We love them. They look great, but it doesn't really matter what they do because the Green Bay Packers are winning the NFC. Or do you think so? Do you still think so? Or are you doubling down on what you've thought all along?
I don't know. So I picked them to win the NFC, and it takes me a long time because I hate waffling and saying in week 3, like, oh, Jordan Love looks a little hobbled or whatever, and Malik Willis is in there, blah, blah, blah. And so I always wait until the last second to move off my pick. And right now, I'm seeing a Lions team that looks extraordinary, like historically good, can't be stopped. They lose Aiden Hutchinson, who his pressure numbers are basically like the best ever at his position if you don't count Aaron Donald, which, by the way, for any interior lineman, you can't count Aaron Donald. He's just on a different planet. But they lose him, and somehow the defense statistically gets better. Like, that's culture to me. That's coaching. That's Aaron Glenn. That's depth. That's Brad Holmes, the GM. That's Dan Campbell. I mean, I spent a lot of time, with Dan Campbell when he first got there for a big piece I did when I worked at The Ringer. And the belief he instills in that franchise is unbelievable. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. And the problem
Unlike anything you've ever seen?
100%, 100%. That the enthusiasm that he attacked the Lions job with, and like I remember, he had played for the Lions, and it was during the recession in 08 and 09, and he was getting legitimately emotional about Detroit and what it's gone through as a city just over the past 20 years. And I'm sitting there, and he hadn't coached a game yet as head coach of the Lions. I'm sitting there across the table from him in his office thinking, like, this guy, he literally said he wants, as a football town and just a regular town, he wanted Detroit to understand that he knows their pain and what they went through. He's from small town Texas. He said that Detroit is just like Texas, but with just different accents as far as how much they love toughness and love football and all that stuff. And I was just sitting there, and I was saying, this guy understands what a Lions coach should be. And then he got a bunch of players who understood what the Lions roster should look like and how they should play. And that kneecaps thing that everybody made fun of, that was him not talking to us. It wasn't talking to you. It wasn't talking to anybody in the national media or Detroit media. It was talking to the fans and the players who were going to come in there. And the first year that they were there were some guys who weren't into it. There were some guys who weren't into him doing the up downs and all this stuff in training camp and all that. And he got rid of those guys. And he drafted guys who wanted to be Detroit Lions. And I think that it's really easy to be snarky and say, oh, the Lions, they've had no success. He understood what a Lion should be. He understood. And I just think the problem, Kay, with trying to replicate the Dan Campbell model, if you're the Jets or any of these teams
I'm like,
trying to
Chicago,
get out of it.
hi,
Yeah.
notes.
Well, the problem is there's only one Dan Campbell, right? There's only one Dan Campbell. And to say everybody says they're a culture guy on January 4th when they're interviewing with the owner, and then on August 30th, they're not a culture guy. And that's the biggest problem with trying to get the next Dan Campbell.
I think luck. I was saying this in my morning meeting. I'm like, there's so much luck that has to do with it. Like everybody, when Saleh got hired, it was like, well, finally the Jets got the top 5 guy from the amazing team with the pedigree. Right. It's just a lot of it's luck, but I love that you saw that about, I think there's people with the Saints who didn't think that maybe he would thrive as much as he has, but it's also the fit with what the team needs, the persona of it, and Lions fans are absolutely incredible. Wait, so are we abandoning ship, or are we saying the Packers can go on a run? Let's just I
got on a tangent. I'm still picking the Packers, but I feel worse about it every single week. Even after yesterday. Like, I just see this Lions team and I'm thinking, man, this is a wagon. The city's gonna be behind them. We saw what happened last year when it was a madhouse in Detroit. My pick is underwater. I'll say that.
There's something about Jordan that I'm still like, I got a question about you. Are you going to cough it? I'm like, he might cough it. I have to, but they could go on a run. I'd love to see it. I want to get to one other thing. What else do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
We could do Baker bravado. What do you want to talk about?
I love Baker Mayfield. The downfield blocking of Baker Mayfield yesterday. You want to talk about culture? Like, he's tough. He understands. Like, I know Tampa's not a tough city. We can't do that with. I'm from Orlando, so I can say that. I'm right down I-4. But like, it's not like Detroit. But like, if you're a Bucs fan, how can you not be fired up about watching Baker Mayfield? He's trolling the Giants by doing the Tommy DeVito celebration.
But
like,
do we like it? Like it? Because hold on, his most successful. Wow. Okay, good. Me too. But I don't want it to like be overwhelming because then people hate on him and it does not end well. I like when he's. You like it.
I love it. I love it. When you should, as Bill Belichick said, you should enjoy making a football play. Troll away.
And I love that. And good luck to those Packers, even though you're completely full of shit. I don't think you believe in that at all. Love you, Kevin Clark. Check out This Is Football on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you.